Hello dear participant, welcome back to this lecture 11 of our industry oriented Python programming for AI and data analytics course. I am Dr. Merchant and it is my pleasure to guide you through today's exciting topic, exception handling in the Python. In our previous lecture, we learned the fundamental of Python programming, including variable, data type, operators, conditional statement, loops, functions, data structure, and many practical programming concepts. Today, we move forward one step further toward writing robust, reliable, and professional Python programming. You have ever encountered an error like zero divisor error, value error, or file not founder while running the Python program. Instead of the following your program to crash unexpectedly, Python provides powerful exceptions handling mechanism that enable you to detect errors, handle them gracefully, and continue program execution. In this lecture, we will understand what exceptions are, why they occur, and how to manage them using Python's built-in exception handling tools. So in this lecture, we will cover introduction to the error and exception types of the Python error, understanding runtime error using the try except block, handle multiple exception, the as class, the finally class, etc. So by the end of this lecture, you will be able to write a Python program that can detect errors, recover from unexpected situation, and provide meaningful message to users instead of determine abruptly. So as always, this session is completely practical. We will solve several real-world examples and learn how exceptions handling is applied in artificial intelligence, machine learning, and data analytics, scientific computing, web development, and software engineering. So keep your Jupyter notebook or Google Colab ready. Code along with me and don't hesitate to pause the video and practice every example yourself. Okay, so here we have I have prepared the entire lecture and code are inside in the Jupyter file, and you will get this file in your WhatsApp group. Okay. So this is the theory concept types of the error we can find here. Just we can have the syntax error, incorrect Python syntax, runtime error include occurs during the execution, logical error, program runs but gives incorrect result. So common exception errors you can find here, which we will use here with examples, just like zero divisor error, value error, type error, index error, key errors, name error, file not found error, import error, attribute error. Okay, so here how we can handle them, and we can have the example. So exception handling structure we have is a try, then we will apply a risky code, except we will apply the exceptions type, handle error, okay, and as execute if no exception, and finally always execute. So this is the structure which we will apply here. So debugging techniques we have print type, directory help, logging, breakpoint. So here we have the very first example related to the division by zero. As I told you that all the codes which are required for various examples I have prepared, so that in the very less time I can present everything. Okay, you can type this type of the code along with my lecture, or you can use the file which I have already shared in the WhatsApp group. Okay. So here we are trying to check print 10 by 0. Here we are trying to check to divide 10 by 0. So this is zero division error. Okay, so if this type of the error occur by in any case, so we will apply here accept zero divisor error and then print cannot divide by 0 if this type of the problem will be there. So if I will execute control and enter, you can see cannot divide by 0. If I replace 0 by 1 and control and enter, you can see I have the output. If I am using here 5, and you can find the output. But if there is 0, and we know 10 cannot be, any number cannot be divided by 0. So this type of the error is zero division error. Okay, control and enter, you can see cannot divide by 0. Sometimes we are using the invalid integer. Okay, suppose we are doing here n is equal to int input, we have the integer number, enter the number. Okay, but that must be integer. Okay, then print n, accept value error because integer is some value. Okay, if we enter here incorrect value, then this will return some error. Print invalid integer. So we can try how this accept will help us to detect the error. So whenever we are developing some code or the website, if this type of exceptions we are using, these are helpful to find out the errors while using any kind of the function. As you can see in this example, control and enter. Suppose that I am entering here 12. Okay, so I have the output. Again I am trying to rerun the code. I enter here 12.5. so here the value which I enter at this place is 12.5, but this is not the integer, this is invalid integer. Okay, you can see invalid integer, the value was not print at this place. So this is the value error. Sometimes we have the list error, just like you can see here, numbers are equal to 10, 20 and 30. Okay, and here in the list you can see in the Python the index are starting from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on. So here the index for 10 we have is 0, that of index of 20 is 1, and for 30 it is 2. So if I am using here 0, control and enter, so the number having the index 0 is 10. If I am using here 1, control and enter, it is 20. If I am using here 2, control and enter, it is 30. So these are the index values for numbers. But if I am using here 3, control and enter, you can see the range of index, this is not in the range of index. Okay, index out of range. So here the range we have is 0, 1, 2 only, and if I will enter 3 or more than value, then this will return index out of range. So only those values will be assessed having some index according to the values. So there are 3 values, so there are 0, 1, 2, these are the 3 index are there. Similarly, we can have one more example here, dictionary key. Okay, we know when we are using the dictionary, so there are pair values, one is the key and other is the value of the key. So here you can see this is the dictionary we are using, name is the key and amar is its value. So value can be any integer value, string, list, anything. Okay, so this value we store inside student, but now we want to check whether this is correct or not if we enter incorrect value. Okay, so try print student, then here we are using key age. Okay, accept key error, key not found. Okay, so here we want to use, if the key not exists which we are using, then message will be key not found. Otherwise, if the key which we are using is correct or match with the keys which we have used to create the dictionary. Okay, so see here, control and enter, we have the message key not found. But if I am using here name is one key. Okay, control and enter, so the value of this key we have is Aman, that's why and the key which I use at the place is mapped with name, that's why there is no error, as you can see. Next, in the fifth example, we can have file handling. Okay, so here you can see demo.txt. Okay, suppose that this is one of the file which I want to open in from my system. Okay, and if this file not exist, then file not found error. Okay, this type of the error will be file not found error. Okay, and we will print file not found. So when I will execute, so this type of the file not exist in my directory, current directory, that's why I have this message file not found. Then we can have the type error. Sometimes when we are entering the value and by default we have some we are using incorrect value, so this type of the message we while type error. And how we can check it? So here you can see print 5 plus that is space I is any value 2, and accept a type error cannot add the integer and string. Okay, see control and enter. So both the values at space you can see are the numbers. Okay, and we are using here integer only. Okay, but if I use 2 as this, so now 2 is integer, 2 is now string. When you will we will use the quote sign for any number, that number will be automatically converted into string. So 5 is integer, 2 is string, so their addition is not possible. So this type of the error we have is type error, control and enter, so cannot add the integer and string. You got the idea how we are using this accept type error. Okay, sometimes we can have the name error, just like you can see print value. Okay, and name error, variable not found, control and enter. You can see this value which we are using here, no value we assigned, that's why variable not defined. So if you are using value is equal to 25, okay, value is sum of the variable, and now when you will execute we have the value is 25, there is no error message. So first if we are not using name or the we are not assigning the value, in that case we have this type of the error. And if you will use, you will assign the value, in that case you can see we have the output. Second we have the square root. Okay, so for that we first we have to import math. So try n is equal to float integer, we are using here input function to plot the value, enter the value. If n is less than 0, okay, we know we are we can't find the square root of any negative number. Okay, so raise value error negative number, and print math.sqrt. sqrt is a function which is built inside math library, and this will take the square root of any value which we will enter. Okay, accept value error as e and print e. So this will be accept as e, and if there is any value error then this will print the message negative number. Okay, so let's try this statement, control and enter. If I am entering here 12, so this is the square root of 12. If I am entering here 4, the square root of 4 is 2. Okay, it's work properly if we are using values which are greater than or equal to 0. If I am using here 0, okay, so the square root of 0 is 0. But if I use here control and enter, I am entering -4, so this is negative number. Okay, this is a negative number, and we are not able to find out the square root of negative number, otherwise this will be the complex pair. Okay, see there is one more interesting example here, factorial validation. N is equal to int, then here we have the input function we are using factorial. So this is the similar as we use as the 8th example. Okay, so if n is less than 0, we are for the factorial we are use only natural number. Okay, so if n is less than 0, raise accept, negative number not allowed. Okay, print accepted and accept exceptional as a e. So print e, control and enter. Let's we check. I use here 5. Okay, so 5 number we can accept here for factorial addition. Okay, and if we are using here control and enter 1.5, so this is also invalid literal on int with base 10 1.5. Okay, so value which we have entered space is also invalid. Okay, because for the factorial we required only positive integer. Control and enter. If we are entering here -1, so negative number not allowed. Okay, so in this way, when you are entering the factorial function and you want to check or you want to assign to the user the values which he is entering are not valid or not allowed. Next, we have one more example, voting eligibility. Okay, so in India, the voting eligibility is the age must be 18 or more than 18. Okay, only then voter can, young people can cast their vote. Okay, so here we are entering the age and we take it as place integer. So the values which we will enter at this place must be integer, and secondly, age cannot be negative, so this will be positive. If age is less than 18, so the we have raised here exception, not eligible. Then if is greater than 18, then this will be eligible, so we will print here eligible. Except exception is E and print E. Okay, so here control and enter. I am entering here 12, not eligible. Okay, again control and enter. I am entering here 18. He is eligible. Okay, similarly we can use for safe division. So we are entering the value input is numerator, then B is input denominator, and print A divided by B. So this is zero division error. Okay, this is zero division error. Okay, so print denominator cannot be 0. So this is the similar example as we have discussed earlier. Control and enter. Suppose that the value of numerator I have is 12 and denominator is 2, so this will return value. Again we can try. If I am entering here the numerator is 5 and the denominator is 0. Okay, so denominator cannot be 0. This is the error which you can see. Next, we can have one more interesting example, average. Okay, so we have the list, map, float, input numbers which we are entering here, then dot split. Okay, so the numbers which we are entering here is float, and so and then sum of numbers divided by length of vector. So the variable which we are using here, so all the values will store inside nums. Okay, so if this is the formula which we can use here, and accept exception as E and print E. So let's just check it. Control and enter. I'm entering here 12, then second value 45, third value I have 78, then 89, enter. So these values were entered at the place. Okay, and could not convert a string to the float. Okay, so this is the string. The values which we enter at the place are not correct. Okay, so again try control and enter. If I enter the values like 12 space 45 space 23 56 45 56 78 45 12 23 13, enter. So the numbers which we are entering at the place is separated by space only, not with comma. This is the right approach. So this is the list of the numbers, and their average is this one, as you can see. Okay, so in this way we can print the average, or you can customize this part also. Average of the numbers is, okay, and then use at the place comma, control and enter. So 12, sorry, again control and enter. 12 space 45. These are some few numbers which we enter at a place, enter. So the values which we enter are You can see 12, 45, 78, 89, 56, 23, 45, 23, 45, 56, 78 and 89, and average of this number is 53.25. Okay, so if these are correct, then we have the value, otherwise there will be error messages. This is the matrix index. Okay, so here you can see matrix, we have 1, 2, then 3, 4. So this is the first row and this is the second row. Print matrix 2 and 0. See, let's what will be there. And index error, matrix index out of the range. Control and enter. Okay, and if I'm using here 1, then we have 3. Okay, 1 means here you can see the value of 1 is 3. Okay, 1 means second row element. So this is the element of second row and first column. 0 is used here for first column and 1 is used for row. Okay, if I'm using here 1 also, then it is a second column. Control and enter. You can see here the value is 4. This is the second row. Okay, 2 and 4 are in the second column. Okay, but in the Python, index for second row will be 1 and for second column is also 1. Okay, so the value is 4 here. Similarly, we can have the circle area. Okay, so here we will enter the area of the radius of the circle. Then if r is less than 0, radius cannot be negative. This is the value error message. Okay, radius cannot be negative. And what we want to print? We want to print the area of the circle. Okay, we want to print area of circle. And this is the formula. This is the value of pi r square, 3.14. We can use here. Control and enter. If I am using here 5, so this is the area of the circle. But if I am using here control and enter 0, if the circle has the radius 0, then area is also 0. But if I am entering the value is negative, we know the radius of the circle cannot be negative. Okay, so that's why you can see here the error message. See, there is one more interesting example, login validation. Okay, u is equal to, I have input is username. If u is equal to empty, there is no username, then we erase the exception. Username cannot be empty. We have to use here print login successful if you are using some name, detail of the username. Okay, accept exception as e and print e. Control and enter. I'm entering here Meher. So login is successful. Okay, we can have any login ID, 1, 2, 3. This is also successful. But if I am entering empty, so I have user cannot be empty. Okay, here is the example related to the temperature. C is equal to float, input to Celsius, and we print the temperature. Okay, so this is the formula. Okay, so C into 9.5 plus 32 to convert in Fahrenheit. So accept value error, invalid temperature. So what I can do, I have to run control and enter. If I am entering here 0, okay, so Fahrenheit, this will be 32. If I am entering here temperature is 23, so this will be 73.4. But if I am entering here 100, okay, control and enter. If I am entering here -1, this also return the value. Okay, and if I am entering here MC, this is invalid temperature input. Okay, so input must be correct. Control and enter. So this is the output. Then we have the quadratic check. Okay, so if a is equal to float and input a, we will enter the value of a. If a is equal to 0, raise value error, a cannot be 0. Print valid, except this is the similar syntax as we are using. Control and enter. So if I am entering here 0, 0 is equal to 0, so the value of a cannot be 0. Okay, this is the error message. Again, if I'm using here 2, the value of a is 2 and it is valid. Okay, so the coefficient of a cannot be 0. Here you can see the assertion. Control and enter. So it is saying n is equal to input is, we have the integer value. If assert n is greater than 0, print positive and accept assertion error must be positive. Okay, so if you are entering the negative value, then we have the error message. So if we are entering here any value, say it is 12 positive. Okay, again if I am entering here 45, you can see it is correct. But if I am entering here minus 12, must be positive. The value which we are entering must be positive. Okay, sometimes the users are entering the wrong value. In that case, this type of the assertion is very helpful. Even check, sometimes we are required to check the values are even or not. Okay, so here you can see n, if n percentage 2 factorial is equal to 0. Okay, n is divided by 2 factorial. Okay, then raise exception not even. Okay, if is equal to divisible, not divisible. Okay, so the meaning is that not divisible. Print even and accept exceptional. Okay, see, control and enter. If I am using here 12, so 12 is divided by 2, it is correct. Control and enter. If I am using 45, okay, 45 is not even number because 45 is not divided by 2. Okay, so the division of n by 2 is not equal to 0, then not even. So 45 is not divided by 2, that's why this number is not even, means this is odd number. Okay, so here is the example of to check the maximum value. So here we are entering two values, a value of a by using the input function and that of b also by using the input function, and here we are using print maximum of ab. So one value will be returned, which one will be maximum, and if we are entering the wrong value, this will be the value error. See, control and enter. So here I am entering the first value is 12 and the second is also 45. So maximum value is 45. Again, if I am entering here 12 and second value is also 12. Okay, if I am entering here control and enter 12.5 and 23.5. okay, so here we are using float. But if there is any wrong value, suppose that I am entering, I think there is no value error message. Sometimes if we are entering here mn, okay, this is invalid input. Okay, the values which we are entering must be float value, only then this will return maximum or minimum value. Okay, you can check this expression again, 23 and 45 percentage. Here O is equal to, we have the obtained input in float and this is the total input. Okay, so print O upon T into 100. So here we are calculating the percentage. Okay, so 0 division error, T cannot be equal to 0. Remember, so total cannot be 0. Okay, so control and enter. See, I am using a 12 and suppose the total is 500. So this is the percentage. Control and enter. If I am entering here 450 and this is 100. Okay, so this is the percentage. If I am entering here control and enter, this is 12 and total is 0. Okay, total cannot be 0. Now we have the problem related to BMI. Okay, here is also body mass index. Okay, so here we are taking W is equal to weight and H is used for height. So to calculate the body mass index, W upon H square, this is the formula. Okay, the value of 0, the value of H cannot be 0. Okay, height never be 0. So this is the exception, 0 division error. Okay, control and enter. So if we are entering the weight is 45 and height is 5, so this is the body mass index, but by default if you are entering the weight is 78 but height is 0, this is incorrect. Here we have the mean of 5. Okay, so what you see, values which we are entering here are print first, print input f values I plus 1, okay, for I in the range. So and to calculate the mean, we have the formula, this we have already used in the very beginning. Okay, and here is accept value error, so control and enter. So first value 5, second value 5, third value 3, fourth value 7, then 9. So this is the output. Okay, so we have to enter here 5 values. Okay, 1 2 3 4 5 values we have entered. This is the last value. This is the example number 24, power. So here you can see the value of B, which is the base, and A exponent. Okay, so print B raised to power A, control and enter. Suppose that base is 2 and exponent is 3, 2 cube. Again you can check here, control and enter. This is 5 and power can be float 2.5. This is the value, control and enter. Okay, if you are using base value, okay, if I am using here base value is -2 and the value of A 2.5, this is the answer. Okay, you can see, and this is the last part, file write. Okay, so F is equal to open output dot text W and write F dot write, this is the write function, hello Python, accept error, print file operation failed, finally try F close, print file closed, and accept name error, file not opened. Okay, so this is the file name, see here, and this will write the file. Okay, so here input error. Okay, input output error, this will print the value, control and enter. So file close, file closed, so all the statement has been executed. So this is the summary about which we have discussed the examples, syntax, runtime, logical error, exceptional handling, and with the try, accept, else, and many more. The examples which we have put here, 25 examples, you must try and try to understand the concept, which are highly useful in the coming sessions. So thank you very much to listen this lecture till the end.